Welcome back, Giant fans. I am super excited to be starting my second video in this series, The Gettleman Project. In this series, I'm going to put myself through every possible scenario I think Dave Gettleman could go through in the first two rounds of this year's draft. And in this scenario, it's much more by the book. In the first scenario, we had the Giants trading down from 6 to 11. The Bengals swapped first-round picks with the Giants. By doing so, the Bengals were able to acquire Dwayne Haskins. The Giants then went and got Gary from Michigan. We also got DeAndre Baker, the corner, with the 17th overall pick. In the second round, with the 37th overall pick, I was able to get Dalton Reisner as he fell to us there. And then the 42nd overall pick, which I acquired from the Bengals in the trade, I was able to get Polite, the edge rusher from Florida. I also received an additional second-round pick in the 2020 draft, in which I would be able to use that, if necessary, to move up and get a quarterback in 2019, because I, of course, passed on the quarterback in that simulation. Now, in this simulation, it's much more cut and dry. There's no trades. We're staying at 6, and the guy that most people think the Giants will take there is going to fall right in our lap. Dwayne Haskins will be going 6 to the Giants, but because we are getting Haskins, that will then change my personal outlook on what I should do with the following picks. And in this mock, you will see why. Now, before we get started, just like last time, let's go over what I deem to be the 4 biggest needs for the New York Giants. In no specific order, it would be edge rusher, right tackle, quarterback, and cornerback. Edge rusher is self-explanatory. They've been near the bottom of the league in sacks for the last 4 years. Quarterback, Eli Manning's getting up there in age, and he needs to be replaced sooner than later. Cornerback, Janoris Jenkins is a veteran who will probably be off the team, and we don't have a lot of depth there to begin with. And, of course, right tackle, I mean, we cannot go into the season with Chad Wheeler as our starting right tackle. That would be a big issue for me. So let's find out how we're going to address those needs. Let's jump right into the draft. Just like our last mock, it is going to be the same exact top 5. Kyler Murray going to the Arizona Cardinals. Everything you have heard from Cliff Kingsbury, he is all in on this guy. He's been all in on him for over a year, and he fits that offense perfectly, that air raid offense. So I got Murray going 1. San Francisco 49ers, same exact pick. Nick Bosa, they need an edge rusher. They have great guys in the middle. Yes, they added D Ford via trade, but they could still use another great edge rusher, and Bosa's going to fit that team beautifully. I've got Bosa going to the Niners. The Jets, same story, need an edge rusher. Josh Allen, there's not a better one in my opinion in this year's draft, especially for a 3-4 defense. Go get yourself Josh Allen. The Oakland Raiders get the best player in this year's draft as far as I'm concerned. They could easily go somewhere else here, take a DK Metcalf, take a Devin White. But for the sake of the mock, I'm going to have them sticking with Quentin Williams, who I think is the best player in this year's draft. And the Tampa Bay Bucks, everything you have read, have been all in on the idea of getting Devin White to be their middle linebacker. So that is your top 5, which brings us to number 6. And you guys already know who it's going to be. Let's get right into it. I'm on the clock. So we're up at 6, and you guys already know who I'm taking. We are getting our franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State. He fell right in our lap. It is a pending need for the New York Giants. I love Eli Manning. He brought me 2 Super Bowls, more championships than any one of my teams have ever given me. I absolutely love him. I will be there when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. But when it is time, it is time. And his time, I'm not saying it is up yet. He may very well have a good year. And by bringing in Dwayne Haskins, that doesn't mean that Eli is not still a starter. I think Eli starts the season as the starter, and if he plays well, he stays there. Dwayne Haskins is not ready to start day 1. He's just not. He's only played 13 college games. He played in a college-style offense. There is nobody better to learn behind than Eli Manning. Haskins must sit for at least a half a season, but this kid has all the goods. He's got a strong arm. He has some mobility. I like this kid a lot. He's very accurate. Now, some people will knock his 40 time. They'll say that he played in the spread offense, and this is true, okay? But people said the same thing about Baker Mayfield last year, and look what he's doing. This kid can play. Bottom line, I like his confidence. I like his attitude. I want him to be a New York Giant, and if he's there at 6, I'll be very happy on draft night if we are able to get D. Haskins. So as GM of the New York Giants, we're going to take Haskins with number 6. Now the question is, unlike the last draft, we only have 2 more picks to address our defense, and we don't pick till 17. And we got a problem at right tackle. What are we going to do? Let's find out. Let's get right back to the draft. At 7, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to do exactly what we did last draft. Jawan Taylor, the top-rated offensive tackle in this year's draft. A huge man with a lot of athleticism will be going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to help out that offensive line a lot. At number 8, the Detroit Lions. The loss of Eric Ebron from a year ago left a void. They could certainly use a playmaking tight end to go and help Matthew Stafford, and they do just that by getting T.J. Hawkinson. The Bills at number 9 pass up on the chance to get DK Metcalf. Instead, they addressed one of their biggest needs, the tackle position. That offensive line was putrid last year, and they got a quarterback getting killed. Go out and get yourself Jonah Williams. At 10, John Elway gets the man that he has coveted for months. He loves Drew Lock, and he's going to get him at 10. At number 11, the Bengals stay put this time, and they get the guy that we had mocked to the Giants in our last draft in the same exact draft slot. Rashawn Gary will be a Cincinnati Bengal. At 12, DK Metcalf falls into a perfect situation with the Green Bay Packers. Some may question his route running ability, but the guy's athleticism is off the charts, and if anybody can get the most out of him, it is Aaron Rodgers. The Packers get themselves an explosive playmaker. At number 13, the Miami Dolphins. They could go quarterback here, but the quarterbacks have started to fall off the board. Instead of reaching on Daniel Jones, they stay true to their draft board. They take the best available player there, and they get a pass rusher in Calais Farrell. The Falcons at 14 addressed that putrid defense from a year ago. Yes, it had some injuries, but they certainly could use some help there, and they're going to get the same guy we had last draft, Brian Burns, the edge rusher from Florida State. And at 15, the Redskins get their replacement for Josh Norman. I think this will be Norman's last year as a Redskin, and Greedy Williams will be the #1 dog there after this season. And at number 16, the Carolina Panthers have a edge rusher fall right in their lap. It is too good to pass up for them, even with that pending heart condition that nobody really thinks it will affect his draft stock. Too good of a talent here for Carolina to pass up. They're going to get themselves a very athletic pass rusher in Montez Sweat. And that brings us to the New York Football Giants as we're up at 17. So here we are again at number 17, and the situation looks very similar in terms of the players that are on the board. You have a few top-tier offensive tackles in Cody Ford, Andre Dillard. The pass rushers are off the board for the most part in terms of outside pass rushers. Calais Farrell's gone, Brian Burns is gone, Montez Sweat is gone, Josh Allen, of course, is gone. Most of the top exterior linemen are gone. Now, the cornerbacks are still there, just like last time. We have Byron Murphy, we have DeAndre Baker. But last time, we had already fixed the edge rusher. We had gotten Rashawn Gary. You got to get pressure on the quarterback, which in my opinion, and I believe also in Dave Gettleman's opinion, is the most important part of an NFL defense. When you get pressure on the quarterback, it makes everybody's life easier. Something the Giants have not been able to do over the last 2 seasons. So because of that, I'm going to wait on the corner, whether it be later in this draft, whether it be meaning addressing it next year or next year's draft or free agency when we have a lot of money to spend. I don't think we have the luxury of doing it in this situation if we take Dwayne Haskins. So because of that, I'm going to get an edge rusher. I'm going to get a pass rusher, rather. He is not coming from the edge. He has the ability to play both the nose tackle and the D-end in a 3-4. He has great athleticism. I'm going Ed Oliver, who stands at 6'2", 284 pounds, out of Houston. He had a great combine, super athletic. 36-inch vertical leap at that weight. Are you kidding me? 285 pounds? This kid is special, and his ceiling is off the charts. I think he's worth the gamble here at 17, and we need a guy that could get after the quarterback. So that is why I'm going to go Ed Oliver here at 17, which brings us to pick number 18. Let's get back to the draft. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings at 18, and they have one glaring hole, and that's the offensive line, and they're going to fill that with Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle. At 19, the Titans get a playmaking wide receiver, Hollywood Brown, who's going to help Mariota take the top off of defenses. At 20, the Steelers are going to go out there. They're going to get the best cornerback on my board available. The guy I had going to the Giants in my last mock at 17, DeAndre Baker. I think it's a great pick by Pittsburgh. At 21, the Seattle Seahawks go out. They address their secondary by getting Juan Thornhill. Everybody remembers the Legion of Boom. Well, they're trying to get back to that. At 22, the Baltimore Ravens go out and they get their quarterback, a tall threat, N'Keal Harry, the wide receiver from Arizona State, standing at 6'5". At 23, the Texans are up, and much like the Vikings, they really need some help on that offensive line, and that's what they do when they get the athletic offensive lineman from Oklahoma, Cody Ford. The Raiders are up at 24, and they're going to get a guy that's going to plug in for them in the middle for years to come. The playmaking middle linebacker, Devin Bush, had a fantastic combine out of Michigan. I really like this guy here to the Raiders. 25 to the Eagles. They're going to get Josh Jacobs, the best running back in this year's draft. Everybody knows they need some help at that position. They can certainly use some playmakers, and that's exactly what they do. They get Josh Jacobs. The Colts at 26 are going to take one of the best safeties in this year's draft, in Nasir Adderley. Going to help that secondary out from Delaware. 27, the Raiders going to get the best player available on my board at this point, and one of the best cornerbacks in this year's draft. Many think he is the best. Byron Murphy of Washington. Great value pick there by Oakland. 28, the Chargers are up, and they're going to get a guy that's going to clog up the middle for them. Dexter Lawrence, the standout D tackle. That brings us to the Kansas City Chiefs at 29, and they desperately need a pass rusher, especially after the losses of D Ford and Justin Houston, and that's what they do. They get one of the most talented pass rushers in this year's draft. He's had some troubles off the field. That's why he's dropping as far as he is, in my opinion. Some have him mocked in the second round, but I'm going to have Jalen Ferguson here to the Chiefs. At 30, the Packers get some help up the middle. We all know they addressed the edges in free agency. They're going to go out, they're going to get Christian Wilkins at 30. The Rams at 31 are up, and they're going to get a guy that's going to help them for the future on that offensive line. A guy I absolutely love, who I mocked to my Giants in the last mock at 37, Dalton Reisner. At 32, the Pats are up. Pats are going to get Noah Fant, the best playmaker left in this year's draft. He could certainly go earlier than this. What a combine this guy had. He is an unbelievable athlete. They get the replacement for Gronk for years to come. At 33, the Cardinals are up, and they're going to get a wide receiver for their quarterback, A.J. Brown. 34, Colts, same story. They get a wide receiver for their quarterback. Now, of course, they added Devin Funchess in free agency, but I think they could still use a little more pop. Hakeem Butler to the Colts. 35, the Raiders. Raiders need a running back. They address the wide receiver positions, but they could use a playmaking running back, and that's what they do. A little reach here, but I like them. Damian Harris to Oakland. And at 36, the 49ers get their wide receiver to go out and help Jimmy Garoppolo. Kittle's a nice weapon, but they could use another one. Deebo Samuel to the 49ers. Which brings me to my New York Giants, as I am on the clock at pick number 37. Alright, so we're back on the clock at 37, and we've already filled some needs. We've gotten Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback, hopefully of the future for the next 10 to 15 years. We've gotten some nice pieces. We got, obviously, Ed Oliver, a pass rusher from the interior. We could definitely go with an exterior lineman here to get that pass rush, no doubt about it. Polite's still on the board. There's a few other guys. We could go corner. Sin's on the board. We go wide receiver. I'm not going wide receiver because I think we have much more pressing needs. I think we need a right tackle. Now, I love Bradbury, but unfortunately, Bradbury's not a tackle. And some people could take Bradbury here, and I would not be upset about it. He could play center or guard, and we need a center. But I think right tackle is much more important. We have Jalapeno coming back. He started last year before he got hurt. I think they address center later in the draft. They get some depth there. But here I'm going right tackle. I'm going with a guy who was mocked much earlier a few months ago, and he's since fallen because some people think he may not be able to play tackle full-time at the pros. I'm going to take the shot here at 37. He's got a world of talent. He has a high upside. I'm going Greg Little to the New York Giants. I like Little here. I think you're getting value. I don't love this pick. It's more of a need pick than anything, but they need a right tackle. We cannot have Chad Wheeler as our starting right tackle next year. We just can't do it. So I'm going Little at 37. I know some people may not like that pick, but that's who I'm going with. So, as you can see, the last mock draft, I think it addressed the team better for next year. There's no doubt about it. By taking Dwayne Haskins, it's not a next year pick. Haskins will not start the year at the quarterback position. You're not helping next year's team immediately. It's a future pick. And you know what? A lot of times as a general manager, you have to think about the future because it will set up next year's draft so much better. Because you don't have to worry about taking that quarterback. You just go best player available, and you're going to have a year of experience for Dwayne Haskins to step in and take that role. So the last approach definitely helps next year's team better. It fills a lot of holes on the defense and offensive line. This approach is meant more for the future, and you're filling some holes. Oliver's a really nice player, and Little, you hope, evolves into a very nice right tackle. I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on the draft, what you guys would have done differently. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with some of the things I did. I just went with best players available in the needs that we needed at 17 and 37. As always, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.